The story begins in a quiet theater, where a young girl named Abigail is practicing ballet. She moves across the stage like any normal child, but a group of criminals is already watching her from far away. They are not there to enjoy the show. They are there because they are planning to take her. After practice ends, Abigail gets into a car and heads home, and she has no idea that the group has placed a tracker on the vehicle. While the car moves through the city, the criminals drive ahead and get ready at her house. The hacker breaks into the security system, then he turns off the cameras and opens the way inside. A few members sneak into Abigail's bedroom, and a sniper waits outside to cover them. Abigail soon reaches home, and she walks in her room like everything is normal. The second she sits on the bed, the kidnappers come out of hiding and grab her. Abigail fights back right away, and she stabs one man in the hand with a pencil. He gets angry and almost hits her, but another member stops him before things go too far. They inject her with a drug, and Abigail passes out before she can scream for help. The team stuffs Abigail into a bag, and they prepare to leave the house fast. Then one of them warns the others that Abigail's father has just arrived, so the whole escape becomes much more dangerous. The security system turns back on, but the hacker opens the gate again just in time. The kidnappers escape with Abigail, and they drive to a large, isolated mansion far from the city. Inside, they meet Lambert, the man who arranged the whole job. Abigail is still asleep, and she is locked in a room with her hands cuffed and her eyes covered. Lambert gathers the whole team, and he explains the rules for the night. No one can use real names, and no one can talk about their real lives. They only need to keep Abigail alive for 24 hours. Then her father should pay a ransom of $50 million. Lambert does not tell them who Abigail's father really is, and he takes all their phones so no one can be tracked. He gives each person a fake name, and the group now becomes Joey, Frank, Sammy, Peter, Rick, and Dean. The job sounds simple, but the mansion already feels strange. After the meeting, the team relaxes around the bar, and they start talking like the hard part is already over. Joey says she can guess who people are just by watching them, and the others dare her prove it. She guesses that Frank used to be a police officer, Peter is hired muscle, Sammy is a rich girl looking for danger, Rick is a military sniper, and Dean is a reckless driver with a messy mind. Frank then turns the game back on Joey, and he says she acts like someone who once had a drug problem. Joey does not like hearing it, but she does not deny it. Soon, she becomes worried about Abigail because the drugs should be wearing off by now. Joey goes to check the girl, and she finds Abigail shaking in the chair. Abigail says the cuffs hurt her, and she begs Joey to let her go. Joey covers her own face so Abigail cannot identify her. Then she removes the blindfold and loosens the cuffs a little. Abigail cries, and Joey tries to calm her down. Joey says they only want money, and she promises they do not plan to hurt her. She also says she has a son about Abigail's age, and she only wants to finish the job and go home to him. Abigail tells Joey that her father is always busy, and she believes he may not even pay to save her. Joey does not know what to say, so she gets ready to leave the room. Before she walks out, Abigail quietly says sorry, and the strange look on her face makes Joey feel uneasy. Joey later asks Frank if he knows who Abigail's father is, and Frank says no one told him either. Frank decides to question Abigail himself, and he panics when he sees that her blindfold is off. He covers his face, points a gun at her, and forces her to look away. Under pressure, Abigail finally says her father is Christophe Lazar, and Frank instantly understands how bad this is. He gathers the others, and he tells them they need to leave right now. Lazar is not just a rich man. He is a powerful crime boss known for destroying anyone who crosses him. Joey and Rick have heard the same stories, and they know Frank is not exaggerating. The room grows tense, but Dean still wants to stay because $50 million can change all their lives. His greed pulls the group back in, and Frank decides they will stay, but move carefully. Frank orders everyone to search the mansion, and he wants to make sure no one from Lazar's side is hiding inside. Sammy goes to her room and watches TV, but she gets creeped out when she finds Dean lying on her bed. She kicks him out, and Dean walks away annoyed. Dean goes into the kitchen, and he notices a door opening by itself. He checks the room slowly, but he does not find anyone there. Then something unseen grabs him, and his scream cuts through the mansion. Sammy hears Dean screaming, but she first thinks he is just trying to scare her. She goes to check anyway, and she finds him sitting strangely still. When she gets closer, she sees that his head has been cut off, and panic takes over her whole body. Peter runs in after hearing Sammy scream, and even he freezes when he sees Dean's body. Sammy gets sick from the sight, and the others hurry to the room. Some of them suspect Sammy for a moment, but Frank shuts it down because the killing is too brutal for her. Frank and Rick talk about a scary old story, and it makes the situation feel even worse. Years ago, 3 of Lazar's men had been locked inside a guarded hotel room on the 20th floor. By morning, they were dead with their heads removed, and people believed Lazar's secret killer, Valdez, had done it. The group rushes back to Abigail's room, and they find her still sitting quietly as if nothing had happened. Rick now wants out immediately, and he tries to open the front door, but thick steel bars block the exit, and Peter cannot break them even with full force. The failed escape wakes up the mansion security, and heavy shutters close over every door and window. Joey starts to understand the truth, because this house is not a safe hideout. It is a trap, and every person inside has been placed there on purpose. Rick runs to get the weapons he hid earlier, but his sniper gear is gone. Joey returns to Abigail and asks if she saw anyone else in the mansion. Abigail calmly says she recognizes Frank, and she claims he once worked for her father under the name Valdez. Joey is terrified by this, and she finds Rick to tell him what Abigail said. Rick believes they must kill Frank before Frank kills them. They split up to find him, but Joey soon finds Rick standing still in a hall. At first, Joey thinks Rick is alive, but then she sees his throat has been torn open. The sight pushes her over the edge, and she storms back to the others with her gun raised. She points it at Frank, accuses him of being Valdez, and tells everyone that Rick is dead too. Frank pulls his gun on Joey, and he says Abigail is playing with their minds. He believes the girl is making them turn against each other, and he decides the only answer is to kill her. He orders Peter to go to Abigail's room, but Joey follows and tries to stop him. Peter reaches Abigail, and Joey blocks him before he can hurt her. Frank arrives behind them, and the argument becomes louder and uglier. Then Sammy notices something that makes everyone stop talking, because Abigail has slipped one hand out of the cuffs with no effort at all. Abigail stands on the bed, and her innocent act disappears in a second. Her face changes, her teeth show, and the little girl reveals that she is a vampire. She leaps at Peter and tries to bite him, but Frank shoots her in the head. For 1 second, everyone thinks the shot worked, but Abigail simply stands back up. She touches the wound, and it heals right in front of them. The kidnappers finally understand the nightmare, because they have kidnapped a vampire and locked themselves inside with her. Frank tries to stay calm, and he asks what can kill a vampire. He sends Peter to sharpen pool cues in his stakes, and he tells Sammy to search for garlic. Joey thinks the plan is stupid, because even if they beat Abigail, Lazar will still come for them. Frank refuses to give up, and the group goes to hunt the girl. When they return to her room, Abigail is already gone. Soft music plays from upstairs, and they follow it with fear building in every step. They enter a room, and they see Abigail dancing with Dean's headless body. The sight is sick and unreal, but Sammy still rushes at her with garlic. Abigail grabs the garlic with no fear, and she makes it clear that it does nothing to her. Frank and Peter attack with stakes, but Abigail is faster and stronger than both of them. She throws them around like toys, and she even stabs Peter with the cross he is wearing. Frank tries to stake her, but Abigail blocks him and drives the stake into his leg instead. The survivors escape the room, and Joey treats Frank's wound. They know they cannot beat Abigail in a fair fight, so Joey suggests using the last injection of the drug. Their plan is simple. One person lures Abigail out, and Joey injects her when she gets close. They split up through the mansion, and every hallway now feels like a hunting ground. Sammy finds a swarm of bats, and the panic makes her fall into a hidden pool filled with dead bodies. Somewhere else, Peter runs into Abigail, and she chases him through the house. Peter crashes through a door that Frank opens, and he falls down to the lower level. Abigail turns on Frank next, and she overpowers him easily. Joey arrives with the syringe, but Abigail knocks it away before Joey can use it. At the last second, Sammy pulls Abigail off Frank, but Abigail bites her hand during struggle. Peter wakes up and jumps onto Abigail, holding her down for a few seconds. Joey grabs the syringe, injects Abigail, and finally drops the vampire again. Sammy panics because of the bite, and she asks if she will become a vampire now. No one has an answer, and that makes the fear worse. The group locks Abigail in a steel cage, but even inside it, Abigail still looks like she is the one in control. Joey asks Abigail how they can get out, and Abigail only smiles at first. Then she finally tells them the truth, and it is worse than anyone expected. The kidnapping was her plan all along, and Lambert has been working for her from start. Abigail also knows every real name, and she knows every bad thing each person has done. She says Sammy stole money that secretly belonged to Lazar, and Peter killed one of Lazar's business partners while drunk. She says Frank once arrested Lazar's men as a detective, but later he became corrupt and lost himself. Then Abigail reveals the truth about Valdez, and the group finally understands the old stories. The famous killer is not Frank, and it is not some hidden man in the mansion. Valdez is Abigail herself, and she has been a monster everyone fears. Abigail also exposes Joey, and Joey's face changes as the truth comes out. Joey was once a military medic, but her drug problem ruined her life and cost her custody of her son. Later, she pretended to be a doctor, and one failed surgery killed a person connected to Lazar. After breaking them down with their secrets, Abigail offers them a deal. She says 2 people can leave alive, but only if someone opens the cage. Frank threatens her instead, so Abigail changes the offer and says only 1 person will be spared. The offer turns the room against itself, and Peter points his gun in fear. Joey shoots him in the leg to stop him, because she sees Abigail as trying to make them kill each other. Once Peter calms down, they agree that letting Abigail out is too dangerous. Frank stays behind to guard the cage, while Joey helps Peter with his wound. But Frank secretly tries to make his own deal with Abigail, and he asks her how to escape. Abigail tells him about a hidden passage in the library, and she says a red book will open it. Frank takes the information, but he refuses to free her. Abigail gets angry, and then she simply escapes from the cage by herself. She could have left any time she wanted, and she only stayed locked up because it made them feel safe. Joey rushes in as Abigail is about to kill Frank, and she opens the window covers to let sunlight into the room. The light hits Abigail's hand, and her skin burns badly. But the wound heals almost at once, showing that even sunlight cannot stop her for long. Joey and Frank run to the library, and they try to stay close to the sunlight. Sammy checks her own hand in the light, and she is relieved when nothing happens. Joey tries breaking through the walls, but the mansion is built like a fortress, and every attempt fails. Frank finds the red book Abigail mentioned, and he pulls it from the shelf. Nothing happens, and he realizes Abigail tricked him again. Sammy then suggests shutting down the main power because maybe they will turn off the security system. With no better plan, they split up again to find the power source. Sammy goes with Peter, but the bite on her hand is slowly changing her mind. She starts acting strangely, and then she suddenly attacks Peter with no control. Sammy kills Peter, and the noise brings Joey and Frank running. They see Peter dead, and they understand that Sammy is now under Abigail's control. Sammy chases them through the mansion, and Joey uses a silver tray to reflect sunlight onto her body. The reflected sunlight hits Sammy, and her body explodes into pieces. At the same moment, a hidden door opens nearby. Joey and Frank enter the passage, and they follow it into a control room filled with mansion plans and security controls. Lambert is waiting inside, and he finally reveals what he really is. He is a vampire too, and Abigail was the one who turned him. He says he is tired of being her servant, and he wants to use the kidnappers to help destroy Abigail and Lazar. Lambert wants Frank on his side, and he offers him vampire power. Frank first refuses because he does not want to serve anyone, but the promise of strength is too tempting. Lambert knocks Joey unconscious. Then he bites Frank and makes him drink his blood. Frank changes fast, and he becomes a vampire within moments. Lambert orders him to kill Joey as a test, but Frank betrays him instead. Frank drives a wooden stake into Lambert's heart, and Lambert dies before he can stop him. Abigail arrives right after that, and she attacks Frank immediately. This time, the fight is different because Frank is now strong enough to hurt her. He bites Abigail and drains her blood, and she weakens until she falls to the floor. Joey wakes up during the chaos, and she runs for any exit she can find. Every path leads nowhere, and the mansion still refuses to let her go. Believing she may die there, she records a final message for her son. Frank finds Joey before she escapes, and he attacks her without mercy. He throws her around, and she has almost no chance against his new strength. She falls from a high place, but Abigail suddenly catches her and saves her life. Abigail admits she cannot beat Frank alone now, and she asks Joey for help. She promises Joey can leave if they survive, and Joey agrees because she has no other choice. Together, they face Frank again. The fight is brutal, and Frank still has the advantage. He impales Joey against a wall with a metal rod. Then he goes back to Abigail and drains more of her blood. After that, he pulls Joey free and bites her, hoping to turn her into a servant. Frank orders Joey to kill Abigail, and for a moment, she acts as if she will obey. But Joey has not fully changed yet. so her mind is still her own. When Frank lowers his guard, Joey attacks him instead, and Abigail uses the chance to recover. Joey and Abigail fight together, and this time they finally push Frank back. They force him down, and both of them drive a wooden stake into his heart. Frank dies, and his control over Joey disappears before it can take hold. After the fight, Joey is afraid the bite will still turn her into a vampire. Abigail tells her the effect ends when the vampire who bit her dies. Then Abigail keeps her promise, and she lets Joey leave the mansion alive. But before Joey can escape, Christophe Lazar finally appears. He attacks Joey at once, but Abigail stops him and says Joey saved her. Lazar listens to his daughter, and instead of killing Joey, he warns her to leave before he changes his mind. Joey does not argue, as she runs out of the mansion as fast as she can. She gets into a car, as she finds the candy she had been saving earlier. Abigail 2024 movie recap ends with Joey successfully surviving the worst night of her life. Then she eats the candy, and finally, she starts the car and drives away.